Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. And yes, this is going to be a review on a fragrance I actually wasn't impressed with. I'm going to tell you guys why I wasn't impressed with this fragrance, but I'm also going to give it a fighting chance and tell you guys why I think for some people this could be an amazing scent. So let's get into the review. First things first, I have a sample of it. This is Electimuss. This is not the first impression of Black Caviar that I did. This is Aurora. This is a fragrance I had high hopes for. Now, whenever I review fragrances, I always like to try and be as unbiased as possible, but being my own person, I do have my own particular biases. Me not enjoying this fragrance or not being impressed with this fragrance completely has to do with my biases. I know a lot of people really love this scent, but I wanted to talk to you guys about why I was less than impressed with it. Now, I will say one thing, this was not given to me to review. This was a gift with purchase when I purchased something. And this is a fragrance that I have been wearing for a while because I really wanted to make sure that everything I said was factual for me when it came down to performance, when it came down to longevity, how it smelled. I wanted to ensure that I gave this fragrance a fighting chance. So I've been wearing this for a very long time. So first things first, Aurora from Electimuss is a luxury fragrance and it is luxury priced. It's priced at $210. And even though I am less than impressed with this fragrance, I don't think that that is overpriced for what you get. And I will explain more of that at the end of the video where I kind of play good cop and talk to you guys about why I think this is a good fragrance for some people. Now, the notes in this fragrance, at the top you have a lot of very distinctive aromatics, and that is where one of the areas I'm really going to be focusing on. You have saffron, cloves, cardamom. You have oud in here, patchouli, and rose. I would consider this your standard rose, patchouli, oud combo, which is a combo I am very familiar with and I deeply love. You also have sandalwood, and there's gray amber and musk. I'm reading everything off of here because there's a lot. Now, first things first, I never like to judge a fragrance by its opening, and that is sad because the opening of this is actually incredible. I love the mix of gray amber, this beautiful kind of green patchouli. It's a little bit bitter. You have some gorgeous florals, some beautiful aromatics. It really comes together to be something very special. I like that it also smells spicy and a little bit animalic. And I was really excited to see where this was going to go. Now, the rose patchouli oud combination is very popular. You see it in a lot of different places. It's also a very distinctive composition. Those three notes have a tendency to overwhelm and overpower. And so for a fragrance to not smell like the other rose patchouli oud combination, you have to do something distinctive, different, and unique with it. And that is what let me down about this fragrance. But also because after this fragrance dried down on its skin, it lost all of the magic in the opening. And then it just became something that even amongst rose, oud, and patchouli combinations, it was lackluster. And that's what I want to talk about. But do remember that I'm trying it on my skin. I am trying it in my environment. So just because I think this doesn't mean that everyone else is, but I did kind of want to let you guys know what I thought. First thing is you get to enjoy the opening for about 15 to 20 minutes and then it dries down. And once it dries down, everything falls flat. And that's the problem I have with this fragrance. In the opening, I was excited to hope and dream and anticipate a beautiful cardamom clove dominated spicy oud, patchouli, and rose combo. That's what I wanted. I love when rose and oud and saffron come together, but I was excited to see where these very distinctive, could be easily overpowering, overbearing aromatics would play with this combination. I was excited for the opportunity of a more kind of animalic resinous experience with the gray amber. There was a lot I expected, and in no way did this meet even halfway of my expectations. So about 30 to 40 minutes, the beautiful aromatics, that gorgeous gray amber, everything just kind of deflates and you're left with a run-of-the-mill rose patchouli oud combination. And I will say that this is a very wearable, very just non-challenging, mainstream, crowd-pleasing rose oud patchouli. But there were parts about it that I would hope would have been a little bit louder, a little bit more present, and have a little bit just more in with this composition. The rose is a rose. It doesn't smell like it's a distinctive rose, it just smells rose. The beautiful green patchouli in the opening just kind of fell flat. And the oud is probably the saving grace of this fragrance because it's not a crazy animalic oud, it's not a crazy composition. It's more of like a westernized, easy to understand oud fragrance. And I think because the rose and the patchouli were kind of flat, the oud being a little bit more approachable makes this more of a wearable fragrance. I think if the oud was more challenging, a little bit more present, a little bit more powerful, this probably would have been something very hard to wear because there was nothing to balance that. And so that's the issue I have with this fragrance. Now, this does have pretty good performance. It does last on the skin for 6 to 8 hours, which I would expect for this combination. And I actually have to say that the longevity is great. The projection is really nice. It's not a heavy projection. It does have length and reach. So if you're social distancing, you'll be able to smell it, but it's not a suffocating, heavy, overpowering. It's a very light, more uplifting kind of projection, which I think is very good. However, I just wish there was something more, and that's the problem I have with this fragrance. I wish the cardamom or the clove were more present. I know saffron and rose can also overpower a composition, and I'm kind of impressed at the ability to have all of these just very strong, distinctive notes together come together and just fall very flat. And sometimes when you wear this, you can pick up a little bit of cardamom, and sometimes you pick up a little of the gray amber, there's some sandalwood, here's some rose, but I expect more power, more presence, just more from this fragrance. And unfortunately, it just kind of, like I said, fell flat on my skin. It was boring, uninspiring, and just not something that I would ever think of purchasing to add to my collection. Even though it is a very wearable, crowd-pleasing, mainstream scent, I find that there are other fragrances that could also fit that category that have more to them. I would say the discontinued Viktor & Rolf Flower Bomb Explosion, Rose d'Arabie from Armani Privé. There's plenty of fragrances from Menthol and Mancera that could easily fit this bill. And it needed something else, but it also needed the core of it to have something. The patchouli should have stood out more. The rose should have been more distinct. It just fell flat on the skin, and that's why it was very disappointing. I'll never buy this fragrance. I may purchase it for collecting reasons, but to be perfectly honest, I probably won't. I usually don't like to close doors because sometimes there's a fragrance that completely underwhelms me, and then I wear it the right time and I fall in love with it. So for now, I'm just putting a pause on this fragrance. It's not something I'm going to buy or miss, but I will let you guys know why I think this could be a great fragrance for somebody. And if you know me and how I like to smell, you'll also understand why I was disappointed in this. And that has to do with it being a very approachable mainstream fragrance. Now, I have a lot of approachable mainstream fragrances in my collection, some of them that don't wow me, but I wear for more utilitarian purposes, like when I would meet with clients, when I used to go out and meet with clients, when I would go to work, when I had a job where you'd go to work. I still work, but I work from home now, and going to places where people have a sensitivity to fragrances, or just kind of running to the grocery store. Like, I have reasons to add things to my collection and wear, but this fragrance smells very safe, very easy. There's nothing about it that really sparks anything that ignites my desire to own it. But if you're the type of person where you like fragrances that have a little bit more mystery, have layers to it, there is layers to this, but they are very, very, very quiet. Or if you're looking to be kind of expanding your fragrance rotation, you want to start experiencing patchouli dominant fragrances, ouds, a little bit more mature and sophisticated and more challenging compositions, but you really don't want to tip your toes into that challenging part, I think Aurora from Electimuss is a fantastic fragrance. The quality of the scent, aside from the composition, I think is very good, and $210 full price for 100 ml is about what you would expect, a little bit of a higher end designer fragrance or more of an affordable niche scent. So based on its composition and how it performs and how it smells, I don't think it's overpriced for how it smells, how it performs, and what it is. If it were more along the like say $275 to over $300 mark, I would say no, but I do think that this is appropriately priced for the composition, its performance, and how it smells. It is a very mainstream, almost designer level of rose, oud, and patchouli. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people that really enjoy. They don't want a challenging oud. They don't want a patchouli that suffocates. And sometimes rose can be too overpowering. And that's where this fragrance, I think, wins. It has a nice, soft, delicate, in my opinion, flat balance of notes to come together to create something attractive, complimentary, and wearable. I do think this is the type of fragrance that you would wear and you probably would get compliments from. It's not a bad fragrance, it's just not a fragrance for me. And so when I'm reviewing fragrances for you guys, I have to remove my biases, but sometimes my biases have to stay. And in my opinion, it's boring. But that doesn't mean that for some people it's not going to be beautiful and attractive and help with confidence. And if you're the type of person where you like to wear those more kind of powerful compositions, but you work in an environment where people tend to be a little bit more sensitive with smells, this is a fragrance that I think would be really well too. You can wear those ouds, you can wear that patchouli, you can wear those beautiful, spicy, woody scents, but you're not going to offend people around you. For some people, for some people, this is going to be an amazing fragrance. The quality of this fragrance, again, in regards to everything but the composition, is good. And it's ethereal, it's light, it's airy, but it's an oud. I want a little something more to this. I think if one aspect of this fragrance was a little bit more pronounced, if it was one of the three trinities of the rose, oud, or patchouli, if the rose was more distinctive, if the patchouli was that beautiful like greenness that it had in the opening, if the oud had a little bit more of kind of a rugged animalic feel to it, just a touch, this would have a little bit more to it and I would be way more excited to wear it. If the cardamom and the clove played more of a role the entire lifespan of the fragrance, if the amber was just more resinous, more animalic, and more present, if the saffron was slightly spicier, every aspect of this on my skin fell flat, which is why it's not something I'm excited to wear. But it's not a bad fragrance, and a lot of people are probably really gonna love this, but I did have to let you guys know my thoughts. So that is my review of Electimuss Aurora. I would love to know what you guys think. If you've tried this fragrance, please, if you guys think I am just completely nose blind and completely ignorant, let me know what you guys think, positive or negative. What do you think of this fragrance? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.